How's it going, everybody? As you can see, we are no longer in Path of Exile. We're playing a bit of Project Diablo 2. My main game is definitely Path of Exile. I have about coming on 12,000 hours in Path of Exile, but I play all other ARPGs. I haven't played a lot of Diablo 2 historically. I probably have maybe about 200 or so hours in Diablo 2, something around that. But I do really enjoy playing Project Diablo 2 season resets. So decided to jump in. This season I am playing a Sorceress. I actually haven't played Sorceress too much in base D2 or in PD2. So this is actually my first Sorc. I did play a Blizzard Sorc for a little bit in base D2, but I didn't get very far. I didn't really enjoy the play style a little bit. But in PD2, I am playing a Fire Sorc. So I currently am speccing into Meteor, and I used fire spells to level up all the way up to where I'm at right now. I'm at the end of normal difficulty. I'm just doing bail runs right now to get my level up. I'll probably start going in Nightmare once I hit to about level 45 or so. But yeah, the build leveling was relatively smooth. I leveled up using Flame Wall, so on the passive tree, I started putting points into Inferno, and then as soon as I could unlock it, point into Blaze, and then continue putting points into Inferno. And then once I got Firewall, I used that almost exclusively. The problem that I had with Firewall is that Firewall actually uses a lot of mana. So you're going to be chugging a ton of mana potions. Your inventory is going to be just full of mana potions. So just keep that in mind. It takes generally about 20 to 30 mana per cast, and while you're leveling through normal, you'll probably have like 70 or 80 mana. So that means that you're gonna have like maybe 1 or 2 casts of Flame Wall before you're out of mana. So you're gonna be chugging mana pots a lot. The only other thing that I did while leveling was obviously grabbing teleport. So once I turned level 17, I put a point in telekinesis. And then once I turned 18, that's when you unlock teleport. So I dropped the point into there. And then I went all the way to the very end of normal killing Bale with Firewall. I made the swap to Meteor once I got to about level 35. And so I'm going to pull over a PD2 planner here. So when I made the swap at 35, excuse the extra skill points remaining. This doesn't allow you to select the quest that you have completed. So this is what my skill setup looked like on the swap to level 35. So basically just put a point in Inferno, put a point in Firebolt, put a point in Blaze, put a point in Firewall, put a point in Fireball, and then put as many points as you can get into Meteor. So at this point in the character, I was only able to get 12 points into Meteor. Then I put as many points as I could into Fire Mastery, and at this point in the character at level 35, I was only able to put 6 points into that. And then all of my remaining points after grabbing Teleport were just putting into Blaze as a synergy for Meteor. I'm actually not using Blaze very much. You're gonna want to use Blaze because it gives you CBF, but I need to play around with actually using it more. The actual fire wall or fire puddles that Blaze leaves doesn't actually do too much damage. You're not going to really be using that very much, but it does give you a longer duration with the levels, and so you cannot be frozen for quite a period of time. At this point, I'm going to be leveling a Meteor all the way up, and then I'm going to try to max out Fire Mastery, and then once I'm done with that, I'm going to max out Blaze, and then I'm probably going to max out like Fireball afterwards. And then after that, then we'll just probably max out Inferno. Another thing that I'll mention is when you are leveling through normal, you will encounter 2 fire immune monsters. The first one that you're going to encounter is the top left ghost in Chaos Sanctuary. And then the second one's gonna be the very first fallen wave in Bale. So in order to get through those 2 areas, you're gonna have to use a Mercenary. So I didn't know that I was gonna get any flame immunes. So when I got to Chaos Sanctuary, I actually grabbed a level 20 Mercenary, and I just threw on some random pole arms that I found from the vendor. It literally just had like a poison roll on there, but I don't even think that poison roll is even necessary. I just put a weapon on him. Going through Chaos Sanctuary and killing that Ghost Elite with the Mercenary was pretty straightforward. And then the same thing as I continued leveling all the way up through Bale, I ended up just giving him some more items, and then he was able to kill the fallen shaman that's in the first Bale wave. So right now, my Mercenary just got some weapons on him. It just got some damage here. I got a Quaff of Glory. I just put it on. Like I said, everything here is just stuff I picked up off the ground. Got a ETH Venom Ward. I actually gambled this to get him more life. I got a Sanders for some IAS, and then just some random boots with res. So just be sure that you do have a Mercenary. What ended up happening was, since I recruited this Mercenary at level 20, but I was already in Chaos Sanctuary and going into Act 5, my Mercenary was very, very far behind me in levels. By the time I got to Bale, I was maybe like level 26 or something, 27. And so the Mercenary at level 20 was very far behind on levels, since there's a huge penalty on experience if you are level 25, or if you were below level 25 going into Act 5. And then what I ended up doing was going through Tal Rasha tombs just so that I can get my Mercenary up to level 25. That way he can level up when I am doing my Bale runs. Right now he's level 28. Even though I'm level 42 is because I didn't really jump on leveling him right away, but he will catch up very quickly on levels. Another thing I could have done is obviously just speed run all the way through Act 1 to Act 2 and got another Mercenary, but I wanted to stick around and farm my normal Bale for a little bit. I am playing a somewhat solo self-found. I haven't traded or partied with anybody yet, but in the future I may trade for items. So this will not be a fully solo self-found playthrough, but I'll try to be as solo self-found as possible. In terms of the gearing, I was just using stuff that I picked up off the ground. So like, for example, I grabbed from the vendor a staff that was like this while leveling. It just had firewall skills. I picked up a 2-socket body armor from the Act 1 vendor, and then at some point I picked up a Tal F to make a stealth. But otherwise, all the other pieces are just stuff I picked up off the ground or stuff that came from quests. So, for example, this one is basically just 1 stat, lightning res. The mana is kind of nice because, like I said, this skill while leveling does take a ton of mana. Getting a heavy belt early on is really good to make sure that you get a bunch of mana pots in your belt, but something like this is literally just the heavy belt and some FHR. I don't think it's really, looks like it does get me a breakpoint, so that's kind of nice. Gloves, literally nothing. It's got half freeze duration, but I got blaze, so that's not super important. Other ring is just some res, mana, and some magic find, along with the more half freeze duration, so that kind of stacks on top of the other one. On the helmet, actually this is a more recent pickup. I did get an Ort and a Soul while farming Bale, so I was able to get the lore helmet on. Before the lore helmet, I was just using some random rare that had some resistance on it. On the boots, I dropped a Hisaris. I just threw that on because of the faster run walk, plus the res is kind of nice. And then on the amulet, once again, I picked up a Vidala off the ground. It just has life and cold res. The chance to pierce is not useful for this particular build. But yeah, going through normal, you don't really need to worry too much about gearing. It's mostly about getting your levels. But when I switched over to using Meteor, I did pick up this staff, which was 2 open socket. It had firewall in it when I picked it up. And then I put Tierral in there to get a leaf. So the leaf gives you +3 to fire skills, gives you some Inferno skills. I think that Inferno scales to 2, I believe. I rolled a 1. I wasn't even using the Inferno anyways. And then it gave me some other skills. So I'm using this just as a weapon that I'm currently using. What I'm thinking about doing is switching over to this Hex Fire once I get a shield. This has +2 to fire skills. The FCR is not very useful for the Meteor, but it'll help me teleporting around. And then on the shield, I'll maybe just make a Spirit Shield or something, or maybe I will make an Ancient's Pledge. I'm not sure. I'm going into Nightmare soon, so we'll have to see. We'll have to play around with that and see how it feels. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I've got going on right now in PD2. If you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. Please drop by the stream and feel free to backseat me a little bit on PD2. I am somewhat of a newbie when it comes to Diablo 2, so I will take any and all suggestions on how to continue to play or improve this character. I will be looking at other people's end game builds, and similar to Path of Exile, I'll be doing some videos showcasing kind of like my build diary to show you how I got through to Hell difficulty and beyond. So today we're going to be going into Nightmare. But yeah, anyways, thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out. Bye-bye.